Every year, without fail, K-pop fans collectively choose a group to criticize or tear down. The reasons can range from dating scandals to poor vocals or dancing, underwhelming visuals by fan standards, or even more serious allegations. More often than not, this group is a girl group. After the LE SSERAFIM situation, a question that's been floating around is, why is it always a girl group? How is this group chosen? Why do fans wake up one morning and decide to rip this specific group to shreds, even though many other groups have the same issues? The first and most obvious reason is, of course, good old misogyny. Female artists, especially in mainstream music industries worldwide, are expected to be performers, vocalists, dancers, innovators, fashion icons, conventionally attractive, and preferably not older than 25. Meanwhile, male artists can often get away with merely standing on stage and delivering a mediocre performance. They're often perceived as laid-back, cool, and chill without facing the same level of scrutiny. Artists like Beyoncé, Lady Gaga, and Dua Lipa, along with many advocates within the music industry, have consistently highlighted these double standards. And while male K-pop idols are also held to high standards, it's clear that female idols face even harsher expectations. Both the conservative industry and fandom are much more demanding toward female idols than male ones. So, even without considering the other reasons I'll discuss next, girl groups start out with a big disadvantage. A direct consequence of this misogyny is the difference in fandoms. This is what sets girl groups apart from boy groups in K-pop, the very nature of their fandoms. Girl groups are created and marketed differently than boy groups. This difference isn't just about who's buying the albums or streaming the music, it's about how these groups are marketed and perceived by the public. Let's be real, girl groups and boy groups play a different game, and the rules aren't the same. Unlike Western girl groups, K-pop girl groups were traditionally marketed to appeal to male fans. With the majority of K-pop fans being women, and male fans generally spending less money and time on their groups, and more likely to drop them as idols age, girl groups were at a natural disadvantage. To cover expenses, companies had to make girl groups marketable to the general public. Casual listeners might not contribute as much through album and merch sales, but they do help with charting, advertisements, TV gigs, concerts, and streams that lead to general exposure. The possibility of a boy group suddenly gaining popularity is much lower than for a girl group. Groups like EXID, Mamaland, and 50/50 are examples of this phenomenon. When a boy group becomes popular with the general public seemingly out of nowhere, it's often due to a highly dedicated fandom working behind the scenes. Not because a random fancam went viral or released a very catchy song that just happened to scratch something in everyone's brain. With the globalization of K-pop, companies have shifted their marketing strategies for girl groups, targeting younger women, a demographic that's not only larger but also more dedicated, while trying not to alienate their original male fanbase. A quick look at Reddit, fan signs, and concerts shows that male fans are still present. Maybe they're not the main demographic, but they're still significant. And, of course, companies want to keep these groups marketable to the general public since advertisements, charting, and such are still highly profitable, arguably more than in the past. So now, girl groups are stuck trying to appeal to everyone: female fans, male fans, and the ever-fickle general public. Three different demographics that many times have different expectations from the group. They need to appeal to female fans and male fans, two groups that often clash, especially international female fans with Asian male fans, while also catering to the general public, who may leave bad reviews and comments if they find something underwhelming, as they aren't emotionally invested and care only about the quality of the content. For years, fans of girl groups had to find alternative ways to measure their favorite group's success. Unlike boy groups, which dominated in album sales, girl groups often had to rely on other metrics like advertisements, brand endorsements, and chart performance. These were seen as indicators of a group's growth and popularity, especially when the traditional metrics were skewed against them. The peculiar thing is that, even though the marketing strategies for girl groups have shifted over time, the way success is measured hasn't really evolved. Instead, fans have just added even more criteria. Now it's not just about charting or brand deals, but also about social media engagement, YouTube views, album sales, and international recognition. If a group doesn't hit all these marks, they're seen as failures, even if they're excelling in other areas. And here's where the general public comes in. Unlike boy groups, which can rely on their dedicated fandoms to carry them through thick and thin and often have more isolated fandoms, girl groups need general public appeal to survive. This means releasing catchy songs that can go viral, maintaining a public-friendly image, and staying relevant beyond just their core fanbase. But the wider the appeal, the harsher the scrutiny. A boy group might drop a mediocre comeback or have a bad encore stage, and outside their fandom, it's crickets. How many random people watch live performances or encore stages of mid-tier boy groups? Not as many, that is certain. But when does a girl group do the same? Suddenly everyone's a critic and the knives are out. This is even more pronounced when a girl group goes viral. For girl groups, virality often hinges on catching the attention of the general public with a catchy song or a viral moment. And while that spotlight can be a blessing, it's also a curse, because once the general public's eyes are on you, the expectations skyrocket. If you don't deliver on your next comeback, the same people who propped you up can just as quickly tear you down. There's also the issue of versatility and keeping up with trends. Girl groups need to change, but also not change. Keeping the same sound is a double-edged sword, but so is switching it up. Flexibility can attract a diverse range of fans, but it also dilutes the group's identity, making it harder for them to build a loyal, long-term fan base like boy groups often do. Boy groups don't have to chase after the general public's approval because they've got their loyal fandom in their corner, ready to defend them no matter what. And companies know that smaller boy groups are much more profitable for them than girl groups, thus they are very quick to drop a girl group when they cannot catch the general public's attention. And of course, the intense competitiveness in K-pop, especially among girl groups, creates a breeding ground for hate. With the scene becoming more oversaturated every year, fans are constantly pitting groups against each other. And even when criticism starts off as valid, it often spirals into a full-blown hate train. Girl groups are held to impossibly high standards, and when they don't meet every single expectation, whether it's charting, visuals, or stage presence, the backlash is swift and brutal. And let's be real, fans have a role to play in this too. The louder, more toxic parts of fandoms can stir up unnecessary drama, dragging other groups to prop up their own faves. This behavior only adds fuel to the fire, making it easier for hate trains to gain momentum. The sad truth is, when a girl group stumbles, they're not just facing criticism from their own fans, but from casual listeners, fans of other groups, and the general public, all at once. In the end, the yearly hate train that targets a girl group isn't just a product of fan behavior, it's a vicious cycle perpetuated by the way these groups are marketed, the expectations placed on them, and how their success is measured. The industry pushes girl groups to appeal to multiple demographics, which in turn sets them up for harsher scrutiny and more intense backlash. Fans, caught in the cycle, often amplify the hate, creating an environment where girl groups are constantly walking a tightrope, trying to please everyone and often ending up pleasing no one. Until the K-pop industry changes how it markets and measures the success of girl groups, this cycle of extreme scrutiny and criticism is unlikely to end. And while we can hope for better, the reality is that girl groups will continue to face an uphill battle in an industry that doesn't play fair. 날 흔들어줘.